Sunday night, February 5, 2023, Dan Grider, Probable Cause. Glad to have you with us. Tonight's a little bit different video. I'm actually down in Marksville, Louisiana on a separate project. Fascinating story. I just completed an interview last night with a guy that really should not be alive. This is a fascinating deal. I'm going to take a little break from weekly accident reviews because frankly there's not very many of them going on right now, so I'll save those up for maybe next Sunday night. This is a fascinating story. I guess I'm going to Bryan, Texas to meet the mayor eventually on this one. This guy survived his crash, got his airplane impounded by a farmer who will not let the airplane go. I'm going to give you the whole story. Specifically, this guy, Renee Burrell, called me up and I came down here. He's a great guy. He bought me a fantastic Louisiana dinner last night and put me up in this resort right here to tell me this story. He agreed to go on camera and admit what he did wrong, and I picked him apart and I beat him. You know me, I beat him over what he did, and lessons learned. He's a great guy. He's willing to take a hit so that other guys behind him can figure out what he did wrong. He gets a gold star in my book. That takes a real man to sit back and admit what you did wrong and what you could do better. Renee Burrell is the man down here in Marksville, Louisiana. Here comes that interview. It's coming next, and that's going to be it for the video this week. For Sunday night, if you're in the live chat room with us, glad to have you with us. Drop your comments in there. The Renee Burrell story, his Cherokee Lance off-field landing, engine failure in cruise, is a fascinating story. And here comes the interview with Renee Burrell. All right, down here in Louisiana with my friend Renee. I appreciate you inviting me down here.
No doubt.
Is this really Louisiana? I took a...
This is Marksville, Louisiana. We're in the center of the state.
Marksville, Louisiana. We've been playing a little bit of guitar. The good thing about Renee is that number one, he's alive, and number two, he parts his hair to the side. I like the way you're parting your hair these days. You have got it going on.
I parted right down the middle, man. Look at it.
We're able to laugh and joke around because Renee is still alive. Tell me about your airplane incident. You called me on the phone. To tell you the truth, this one didn't even come up on my radar because you're alive. It was an off-field landing down in Texas. So tell me what happened. You had your family on board. After the holidays, you stopped in Austin, Texas, and you let some out. And then where were you going from there? You took off from Austin. Where were you going after that?
Yeah, I was bringing my daughter, her husband, and my grandson back home to Austin from visiting with us here in Marksville for the holidays, and tanked up at Austin, at Bergstrom, and departed normal run up. Departed, the rollout was normal. Airspeeds, everything looked pretty normal. Nothing unusual.
Now the airplane we're talking about is a Cherokee Lance, right?
It's a Piper PA-32 Lance, 300.
Yeah. So you're talking mid 80s model.
87, I think.
87. So that you're talking about a big straight 6 IO 540 engine.
78. I'm sorry, that's a 78.
78. Okay.
78.
All right. Okay. 78. But a big engine in this thing, and
IO 540. Yeah.
IO 540. So you made it back up to cruise. You're flight following your private pilot instrument, right?
Correct.
And how long have you been flying?
I've got about 1,500 hours total.
Over how many years do you think?
Oh, a long time. First flew in 1987.
Okay.
I soloed in 1987.
So you got a significant amount of experience. You're not a new guy.
No.
And the scenario that you got encountered here was actually an AQP scenario. You're alive, but I want to talk through real quickly the steps. You're on flight following, and we can take a look at the radar track to show people where you were. You're talking to Houston Center. You're on flight following when you had some kind of a first indication. What was your first indication that something was wrong?
When I departed Austin, I got about, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 feet above the runway, made my left turn to head home.
Right.
I was taking off on 18, the short 18, the left, 18 left. And I was making my left turn to head back home. I noticed that I didn't have the normal RPM.
Right.
I didn't have the normal RPM, but I was climbing out fine. Climb rate was normal, actually. Right. It was normal. I continued to climb out. but the RPM never hit where it was supposed to. It just didn't.
Right.
I said, well, let me get out of Austin. Let me get out of the city limits here and get away from the traffic and the people and the buildings and see. And I thought at first I'd filled up in Austin, put 60 gallons, 61, 62 gallons of fuel.
Right.
And I said, maybe a little water in it.
Yeah.
This is going to clear up in a minute. Not a problem. I'll just it's climbing out fine. I'm doing good on my airspeed.
And we're talking day VFR, right?
Day VFR.
Yeah.
And excellent weather.
Excellent weather.
Excellent weather.
Okay, good.
So I turned left and was headed out, and I never got my RPM back. It never did clear up.
But you made it up to 4,500 feet at some point.
That's right.
And then you checked in with Houston Center and you picked up flight following.
I picked up flight following with Houston, and I told them about when I was about 30 miles out of Austin, headed east. I told them that I needed to look for an airport with a mechanic,
Right.
if they could make a recommendation. And they asked me, would you like to declare an emergency? Is there a problem? And I said, no, I don't want to declare an emergency.
Right.
I'm okay. Just give me vectors to an airport that's got a mechanic. So at that point, they recommended College Station,
Right.
Easterwood. So you can see on my radar data, I took a slight left turn from my normal easterly path to head towards College Station. Still there, everything, the airspeed was not normal. It
Right.
was below what I normally would. That thing cruises at about 150 knots,
Right.
generally.
Right.
About 150 knots. I was doing maybe 140, 135. It was the best I could do.
Right.
So we kept flying. I kept flying. I was by myself at this point. I had dropped off my family. I was
Right.
just heading home. So I got I don't know 30 miles out of College Station, and they were aware of my situation. They said, "Do you want to declare an emergency?" I said, "No. I think I'll be able to make it just fine."
And
So
you were still aiming towards College Station.
I'm still aiming towards College Station, basically headed east.
Right.
Okay, slightly north, but headed east.
Right.
And so I asked them, could I do a straight in for whatever the east-west runway is? I don't
Right.
know what it is, but whatever
Right.
that runway is.
Right.
I asked, could I have a straight in for that east-west runway?
Right.
So they said, they asked again, "Are you declaring an emergency?" I said, "No,
Right.
I'm not." So they directed me. The winds were out of the south.
And they wouldn't let you have the runway that you wanted.
That's right.
Because you did not declare an
That's
emergency.
right. That's correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. So they told me, no, we were landing on runway. I think it's 17 over there.
Right.
So if you watch my radar track, I turned a little bit left, like I was going to head in a direction, and then I said, I declared an emergency.
Right.
I've got a problem.
And once you declared an emergency, what words did they come back to you with?
They said, land on any runway you want.
There you go.
Okay.
You finally said the magic words to them.
That's right.
And then they give you anything you want.
That's right. That's right. So I cut the power back because I needed to lose some altitude. I wasn't that far from the runway. I was maybe 3 or 4 miles from it, I guess, something
Right.
like that. And I was still at altitude. So as soon as I cut the power back, the second
You
I cut
lost
the
it
power
all.
back,
You lost
the
it all.
engine quit.
Yeah.
It was dead.
Is it?
It was out.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between all this, I put my gear down. I honestly don't recall putting my gear down, but I know I did because the gear was down.
Right.
And so I put the gear down probably to slow my thinking. It would slow me down and I could lose some altitude quicker.
Right.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
I lost plenty of altitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at that point, I told the controllers in the tower that I was not going to make the airport.
Right.
So they said, declare your intentions. What are your intentions? I said, there's a highway almost directly below me. I'm going to put it down on the highway. They didn't say anything. And right when those words were coming out of my mouth, I noticed his feet off to my 2 o'clock position. I said, forget that. I'm going to land on this. I see a grass strip, a field.
Right.
At my 2 o'clock position, I'm going to try to make that. Now, between me and the field was a wooded area.
Of course.
Of course. So I kept losing altitude pretty quick.
Yeah.
and I got down, and if you look at my track, I was like at 400 feet, 500 feet, and I remained there. You know, I did everything that I was taught about an emergency, you know, fly the airplane,
Right.
maintain control of the airplane, and that's what I was doing, but I had no speed.
Right.
I mean, I was
Right.
floating somewhere between 60 and 65 knots. I should not have been flying.
Right.
That airplane should have stalled.
Right.
Okay, it didn't.
Right.
With the grace of God, whatever, but it kept flying.
Right.
And as soon as I made that last row of trees, it came out of the sky, and I just hit.
And you hit hard.
I hit hard. According to the two people that observed me, they said I bounced back as high as the trees.
Right.
Those trees over there are about 30 foot, 35 foot. So I bounced up probably 20 foot or something,
Yeah.
25 foot.
Yeah.
I bounced up and came back down and started rolling down a hill towards a pond, and I had lost my right brake. I tried to brake on both of them. My right brake was just soft. That was nothing. I did maintain left brake, so I tapped it. Was able to miss one tree that I was headed straight for. I was able to miss the one tree, and then after I passed the tree up and there was a pond at the bottom of the hill, I put my left brake on pretty hard and I kind of spun around, which is why when the police got there, they asked me, they said, "Didn't you come from the west?" I said, "I did." I said, "Why is your airplane facing the west?"
Yeah.
I said, "Because I had no right brake."
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's the story.
So you got her down, and you're definitely alive, because we just played guitar, and you're fixing to eat dinner. Your family doesn't have to go to a funeral, and the airplane's usable. So there's some things that came out okay here. You want to hear my problem with it?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm ready.
This is the bloody part, and I really appreciate Renee even volunteering to take a public beating. But I think Renee, the lessons that we're going to learn off of this, because I've already got some takeaways, and you know me, I'm going to tell you the truth. There's a couple things I want you to think different about going forward. I'm hoping that the next guy that watches your video, because this is important, you're the guy that it happened to. You can sit here and tell me in your own words what you did, but I'm gonna give you a debriefing next. It's time to beat up Renee. This is your public meeting, and here it comes. All right, so the number one, a sick running engine or an abnormal. Anything that's abnormal is something that's not normal. It's either normal or it's abnormal. As soon as you're abnormal, you ought to got to be in the mode of thinking, where am I pointed towards and what do I need to do? And an engine problem in flight is a big deal. When the guy asks you, not once, but several times during declaring an emergency, take the emergency. Be the first out. Yes, sir, I am. How much paperwork or phone calls is there going to be because of declaring an emergency? I'll give you the answer. 0. It's over. When you declare an emergency, you're the pilot exercising your authority to declare an emergency. In fact, all the other rules go away. At that point, you can't break any rules because you declared an emergency. So absolutely, if it's abnormal and you're in doubt, declare an emergency. Maybe you need it, maybe you don't. Err on the side of taking the emergency. Now your airspeed control here, you were definitely flying below DMMS. I know the stall speed on your airplane, it's a little bit higher than that, but you're a T-tail with VGs, it probably helped you out a little bit, but you ended up, number one, you selected a highway, which is a no-no. What do you know that's out there along highways? What do we always put next to highways? Power lines, signs, road things, sharp things that stick up, everything. They will slice your wings open. How many highway landings have I seen where the guy made it to the highway, but his airplane burnt up because it ripped the fuel open and he crashed into this and he got run over by a semi. So a highway might look kind of tempting, but it's generally a bad idea. Your best scenario there would be gear up into a field. Gear up is the least amount of damage. That sliding thing you were telling me about, gear up, you don't slide at all because you don't have any brakes because you got no wheels. The airplane just slides to a stop in a few feet, minimal damage. Gear up into a field is first choice for me. At that point, who owns your airplane?
Insurance.
Insurance company owns it. They would be happy to see that you put a gear up into a field. That's an easy one. No problem. Just put a gear up into a field. But selecting the road is not a good idea. The fact that you put your gear down and you didn't know it, what effect occurs when you throw the gear down on anyone, especially the T-tail Lance? When you throw the gear down on this thing, what's the overall effect of that airplane?
Big time drag.
It's big time drag.
Yeah.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge.
No
Save gear and flaps for last second. If you really are going to do gear, I don't even recommend gear, but save the gear. If you absolutely have to have the drag at the last second, then you can go for that. But arbitrarily dropping the gear at altitude is also a terrible idea. Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. Now, here's the interesting thing. You're a private pilot. You've been flying. You got 1,500 hours. You do a biannual flight review. In your flight review, you do stalls and steep turns and power on stall, and you probably do an emergency landing. How much of your biannual flight review over the last 20 years has set you up to get you ready for the scenario that you just got handed?
Zero.
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 It's because FAA gave you maneuvers. They gave you a power on stall, a power off stall, and they gave you your emergency practice on your biannual. On the downwind, they use a little bit of power back and say, here's your emergency landing practice, and they signed you off. That's a maneuver. What you got was an AQP scenario. You got handed an actual scenario in flight that you hadn't thought about, you hadn't been trained for. It's not your fault. You know whose fault it is? It's our fault. We have not got the word out to tell people, get ready for this, here's your procedure, stay clean, gear up, flaps up, declare an emergency, head for the biggest piece of farmer's field that you can find. Plan on going gear up into a field and make a phone call, tell everybody you're okay. Call the insurance company, go get the airplane. It's all good. It's all good. So all those things, I hope, are huge takeaways for the next knucklehead watching this video, because you're a knucklehead. You're a complete knucklehead. I'm glad you're alive. I'm totally glad that you're alive. But you got to admit, hindsight, thinking about it now, there's probably some things that you probably would do different now that we've had this conversation.
No doubt.
No doubt about it. And I think that's the value in shooting some of these kind of videos. Yours is just different because I'm able to talk to you, which is really rare. I go to a lot of them. There ain't no talking to that guy.
No.
There ain't no talking to that guy.
You're right.
Speed control. You have to maintain. You said you flew your airplane all the way in. Actually, your tendency was to pull back. You were fighting for altitude. You were subconsciously pulling back, and you were subconsciously, speed was going away. You were so close to stalling that thing, I'll bet you the stall horn squawked a few times on you all the way down.
It probably did, but I was so concentrated on that feel,
Yeah.
I don't think I heard or felt anything.
Yeah. So be more in control of the situation. Have your DMMS placarded. If you lose an engine, this is your minimum speed. You aim for the nearest thing, declare an emergency, head for that field, go in, gear up, make a phone call, and it's over. Now, the interesting thing is, part 2 of this video, I'm all over this. Your airplane is now stuck in a field. Your airplane, even though it was power off with no engine, flew over some cows, and it's being held hostage in Texas right now. That's the amazing thing. The guy that owns that field won't let the insurance company have your airplane and won't let you have the airplane. How many weeks has it been sitting down there now?
9 weeks.
9 weeks. And I understand the claim is emotional damage to his cows.
Something like that, yes.
Emotional damage to a cow for an airplane landing in a field. Did you hit a cow?
Didn't hit a cow, and the two guys, his two cowboys that were working the field, these are literal cowboys on horses, said they never heard the airplane.
Yeah.
Never heard it.
Yeah. Well, the amount that's been thrown around here that I've heard, not from you, but from other sources here, I've heard that the farmer's asking for $250,000 to release the airplane, which is insane. That guy ought to open up his fence, undo the lock, hook a tow bar on the airplane, let you guys tow the airplane across the street. That's what really needs to happen here. If he was any kind of a man, he'd let the man have his airplane back. There's no damage to that field. There's not a cow got hurt. There is no emotional damage to a longhorn in Texas. Can't be done. Can't be done. Whoever that guy is, he's fixing to hear about it from me. I'm probably going down there. I'm probably going to ring his doorbell. Are you really holding this guy's airplane for emotional damage to your cows? If you are, I want to take your picture, because you're the biggest idiot I've ever seen. I can't believe it. I mean, that's your story. Part 1 is good. But the cow thing, you got to admit, that's pretty far out there.
It is. It is. But it's the truth.
It's the truth. So that's what we got going on. I think we're gonna get your airplane released. I'm probably gonna go down there. I'm probably gonna ring this guy's doorbell. I got to meet him. Whoever this guy is, he's got to work someplace. I'm fixing to walk right into his office. I want to see this guy. I mean, he ought to get his picture in the dictionary here over this one. I mean, I'm that fired up about this whole thing. But anyway, Renee, I appreciate you agreeing to meet me here and down here in, I don't even know where I'm at.
Central Louisiana.
Yeah.
Central Louisiana.
Perfect. And this thing just happened, December?
December 27th, 2 days after Christmas.
Yeah, so, you got the holidays and all that kind of stuff down, and now you need your airplane back. You're a business guy. Look at all these charts and stuff. I mean, look at all this stuff. You got stuff to do. Yeah. You need your airplane back, and you paid your insurance bill. It's been 9 weeks. Something needs to come off a dead center here. This whole thing with this guy, I'm not liking any of this. But your story is good, and I appreciate you letting me publicly beat you up.
Well, I'm glad if I can help one pilot save his and his family's life. It's worth the public flogging. Okay.
It is. I think, and I appreciate that. And you're not going to get in any trouble from the FAA. You didn't intentionally do anything wrong. You had something happen to you. You did the best you could with it. You put it in a field, and everything's okay. You didn't intentionally bust altitude. You weren't hauling drugs. You didn't do anything stupid. You weren't flying drunk. None of that. Yeah. You had something happen. You did the best you could. You put it in a field. You did nothing illegal. They cannot go after you. Insurance wants to pay the claim. They're going to pay the claim. They're not in the business of finding a loophole. They're not going to come after you because you didn't declare it. It's got nothing to do with it. Totally nothing to do with it. Really, the solid nugget that we got off of this entire thing is the fact that we're able to talk about it, which is rare. Yeah. It's so rare. That's how come when you call me, I'm hustling down there. Have you guys got good food down here?
We do. We have the best. The best in America.
I know it. I think we ought to go get some of that.
Well, we're going to do it right now.
Let's go do it. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Yes, sir. All right. Let's get out of here. Well, I'm back in Atlanta. I had to make this video real quick so I can get it up and on the air here for you on Sunday night. I'm back from the Louisiana trip as well, from the Renee story. Hope you enjoyed that interview. Here's the look at the fatals. I'm very, very happy with the month of February. Not happy that we had 5 fatals, but happy that we're down from our average of 18 per month. So something's going right. I'm not sure what it is. Can't say what could be causing that. So far in the month of March, I don't think we've had any, but here they are on the screen for you right now. So there's the ones that occurred in February. The 5 out there. And then the very last one that I have not reported on was the Cessna 150 in Virginia. I'm not even sure of the N number yet because the FAA has it wrong on their site, but the guy's name was Caleb Glick. He was 74 years old. Remember, pick one. Caleb was out flying night IMC in the terrain. I don't know that it was icing, but he picked 3 of these in a Cessna 150, and it did not come out. I have no idea if he suffered an engine failure or simply flew into the terrain or what happened. Very little information on the Cessna 150. Only one person on board. I'm really sorry for this particular family and their loss during this time. I'll try to get some more information, but right now everything is really sketchy on that one at best. Let's talk about schedule. Here it is on your screen. This is left over from the last time I did a video. We already completed the DC-3 SIC course. I'm going to give you a little bit of video on that in just a second. AQP in Europe got postponed, and I ended up doing the Louisiana video instead that you just saw. The March 4 and 5, the DC-3 will be in Knoxville, or actually it already was in Knoxville, and all that came out really good. All I can say is the banjo player did very well, and I don't mean banjo playing, had a great time. The banjo player enjoyed himself, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Next is going to be March 20, EAA 611, that's Gainesville, Georgia. I'll be doing AQP and barbecue up there at Gainesville, Georgia. Then March 29th through April 2 is the DC-3 will be at Sun and Fun with a whole bunch of people. Here's the graphic for it. I can tell you that I'll be hanging out a little bit at Holiday Aviation. They've got a booth in one of the halls there. I'll be there a little bit. I'm taking a whole bunch of hats. I did make a few extra hats, so I'll have a few until they run out. I'll have some hats at Sun and Fun, and you might be able to get a hat. Here's our seminar schedule for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning. I'll put it on the screen right here. I'll be at least participating. I'll be there for this. This is AQP for General Aviation. Very happy to have Sun and Fun taking an interest in this, and having Meredith Holiday put this schedule together for me and invite me to attend that. I'm very happy and very appreciative of that. Next is April 14th. DC3 is going to be at Airmart, Lexington, Kentucky. The next day, Purdue's Aviation Day in Purdue University. That's up in Indiana, which is just south of Nevada. If you go to Nevada and turn right, you'll find Purdue Aviation there out there. April 16th, we'll go south. We'll be in Dixon, Tennessee, which is just a little bit to the west of Nashville, Tennessee. That's Toby's hometown. Wingman Aviation, nothing real formal there, but we are going to hang around and spend the night and play music and probably go downtown and eat. Pretty informal, but that's where we'll be on that Sunday night. Monday morning, we'll fly the DC-3 back to Atlanta and unload and do laundry, which will be a proper thing to do at that time. Here's the next thing in May. I don't have the dates on it yet. There's a DC-3 course going to happen in May. If you want a DC-3 SIC type rating, that's available. The May 5 through 10 Honduras dive trip, also postponed due to scheduling and another conflict that's popped in there. June 2 is the AirCoupe fly-in. You can find this at aircoupe.org. That's ERCOUPE, aircoupe.org. And you can see that thing there. Then June 3 and 4, I'll have the DC-3 at Williamson, Georgia. That's just a fun thing. It's a Saturday, Sunday. It's an overnight. We're just going to hang around, play music, and have fun. It's a grass strip just south of Atlanta, Georgia. And that's all I got. Appreciate you hanging with us here this evening. Glad to have you with us in the chat room. And make sure to tell me where you're checking in from, because that's always interesting. And here's some video clips of the DC-3 course I just completed. 2 freshly minted DC-3 pilots now. And I got them to make a little advertisement for me in flight about flying the DC-3. So here's a couple of these, just a random couple shots, and then we'll get this thing out of here so you can see kind of what it looks like flying the DC-3. Both of these guys had never been in one before, and they flew it well for 3 full days in a row, and we got everything done. Got to get out of here for my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel, Dan Grider. Probable cause.
All right, Don, we're in the DC-3 flying your left seat in the Douglas DC-3. What do you think of this? I can't put it into words. This is a really, really cool experience. A lot of people should come out here and do this. Well, I appreciate the advertisement. Tell me, honestly, in all the flying we've gotten to do, how many takeoffs and landings have you gotten to do? Oh, I'd say about 15. And how much of the flying have you done versus how much of the flying have I done? I feel like you're helping me, but I know that you're letting me go as far as I can go before you have to step in. Exactly. So I try to stay off the controls as much as I can to let you do everything unless I have to put something in. But as far as like right now, I'm totally off of everything, and I try to stay off of everything so that you can learn the most from it. But it's not one of those kind of things where we get the airplane up to altitude and then I allow you to touch the controls. So you're doing the whole thing all the way around. Yeah, once you get that rudder and that trim set, the airplane does all the work for you. Yeah, what's one of the things that's most surprising about this experience that you hadn't thought about before? Flying it with your feet and flying the tail. Yeah, isn't that wild? That's pretty cool. It's different. Yeah, well thanks for coming in and flying with us. Oh, thanks for having me. No, I don't want to go that way. There you go. All right. We're on the downwind leg. What would you like to get knocked out here? Oh, just set checklist. All right, that's complete. Approach. All right, that's complete. 20 inches. I'm going to give you 20 inches. All right, you got about 30 seconds till you get to the beam point. What can you tell me about flying the Douglas DC-3? Oh, this is awesome. It's probably better than I ever thought it would be. It's this is a real deal. You feel like you're back in the 30s. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming in to fly it. You guys have done great. It's a pleasure to fly with you, and I appreciate the advertisement. Getting a few more people to come in and pick up type ratings, stuff like that helps keep the airplane in maintenance. I would certainly
recommend anybody that can do it, do it. You're gonna remember this for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we're at the beam point. What would you like for right here, Captain?
1/4 flaps.
All right.
Gear down before landing checklist.
Beautiful. Gear's coming down.
Picked up a lot of altitude.
Watch that gear working right there. It's pushing. Gear's down. I got the handle coming to neutral. All right. Landing gear.
Latched. Neutral. Pressure up. Green light.
Down latch, cylinders, pressure up, green light. Landing check is complete.